Hello students, so today we're going to be doing lesson 12.4. This one's called Describe Sides of Polygons. So in this lesson, we're going to be describing the sides of the polygons. Remember that the sides of the polygons are always made by line segments. Remember that polygons are only made by line segments, straight lines only. No curves, no curved paths, no anything. It's only line segments, straight lines. So we're going to be describing the size of the polygons. There are three main different ones, and we're going to be reviewing them with different shapes. Okay, so since polygons are made by sides, which are line segments, we have to go and review the different kinds of lines that these polygons are going to be made of. Okay, so the first one, intersecting lines. Intersecting lines are lines that cross or meet at intersecting points. So what this means is that your lines are going to cross in some point. Okay, so an example of these will be if you have some lines like this. You see, at some point, if I don't have these two, if I see my lines like these, I know they're gonna cross in some way. So intersecting lines always cross each other. Okay, not straight, they just cross. Perpendicular lines are pretty much the same, but they have something different. Perpendicular lines are gonna cross as well, but they're gonna create a 90 degrees angle. Remember that on the previous lesson we were reviewing the angles, and one of the angles was called the right angle. So the perpendicular lines are always gonna make a right angle. So they're gonna cross, but they're gonna cross straight. They're gonna be straight. Not like the intersecting lines, which are like kind of a cross, like these. These one, the perpendicular lines are gonna always be straight to each other, creating a 90 degrees, a right angle right there. And then last, the parallel lines. Parallel, as you see the word parallel, you can take these two L's right here in the word parallel to get to remember how the parallel lines look. So the parallel lines are going to be lines that never ever in their life are going to cross. Never. They will never cross. Like these two, they do cross, but parallel lines like double L right here, they will never cross. Parallel lines never cross. They're just straight like that. For this polygon right here, we're going to try to find which sides of this polygon are parallel. So we usually going to have like pairs of it. So in this polygon right here, which sides or how many sides do you see that make parallel lines? If you notice, this line's right here, this one's going straight, but this one's a little bit tilted. So if I actually go ahead and draw those lines longer, at some point they're gonna cross, creating not a parallel line because they do cross. These ones are gonna create a intersecting line instead of parallel. Remember that parallel lines never touch. So these two sides actually right here are creating a pair of parallel lines. So this polygon right here has one pair of parallel sides, parallel lines. Okay, so now looking at this polygon right here, this rectangle, let's try to see which sides of this polygon appear to be parallel. Remember that parallel lines, straight lines that never cross. They never cross, they never meet at any point. They're only straight lines. They never touch. So let's try to see which sides appear to be parallel. I put letters in here so we can make pairs of them. Okay, so let's try. Is A and B, are lines A or sides A and B parallel to each other? Are they touching in some point? Yes, they are touching right here. If I go ahead and draw this line longer and then this one longer, they do cross. So that means that A and B are not parallel, because remember, parallel lines never touch. And these two are touching in some point. So now let's try with A and C. Are A and C touching at some point? Remember, I have to imagine that I draw this line longer and this one longer right here. Do they actually cross at some point? Or they never get to meet? They never get to touch each other, right? They don't. So that means that they're parallel lines. Remember, parallel, they don't touch. So A and C are actually sides that are showing me a parallel line. So A and C. And let's try and see if we have another pair. If we have another two sides that are forming a parallel line, a parallel side. Let's see, let's keep trying. Are A and D parallel? Remember, parallel lines never touch each other. So if you actually go in and draw this line, this A line longer, in some point it's gonna cross with D, right? So no, they're not parallel. What about D and B? Are these two lines parallel? Are they gonna touch in some point? No, they're not gonna touch in any point. So I think B and D are also parallel. You need to be really careful when you're working with polygons, because you sometimes might have more than one pair that is creating parallel lines, like this one right here. Now we have A and C, remember? Now we have B and D as well. They're creating parallel lines with each other. So actually A and C and B and D. When you are looking for the parallel lines, the pairs, you need to be really careful to put the letters together that are creating a parallel line. If I go ahead and put A and B, then it's going to be wrong, because B, the B line, it's crossing with A in some point. So these are not. Remember, this is another type of line. This one will be perpendicular instead of parallel, right? But if I go ahead and put my A and C together, then they do. These pair of letters of lines right here are creating parallel lines. Okay, so now let's try to figure it out what these green lines in this polygons are showing me. What kind of lines, what kind of sides are these green ones right here? Let's see, on the triangle, remember your three kinds. It's the intersecting, the perpendicular, and the parallel. We can go ahead and cancel some of them with a triangle. Do you see any parallel lines in the triangle? No. All of the lines on a triangle are touching at some point, right? They're touching right here. And if I go to the other side, they're touching right here. And if I go to the up one, to the one on the top, these are touching as well. Look. So all of them are going to touch. So that means that there's no such a thing as parallel lines on a triangle. So let's find out what these green lines are trying to show. Remember that the perpendicular one is always making a straight, a right angle right here. So do you see these green lines making a straight, a right angle? No, they're not. if I go ahead and draw these lines longer, they will create some kind of cross, right? Like some kind of X. So actually these two are showing me a intersecting. Okay, so this one will be intersecting. Now let's see this one. What do you see on this one? If I was to check on this one or this one, probably they will be parallel. But they're asking me about this one and this one. If it's easier for you, you can go ahead and draw the lines longer like these. How would it look? Now I can go ahead and do this one. What kind of line? What kind of line is creating right here? What do you see? Do you see intersecting, perpendicular, or parallel? Remember, it's creating a right angle right here. So which one of those? It's the one that creates a right angle. It is actually the perpendicular. The perpendicular. If it's easier for you, you can go ahead and do these on a piece of paper. If you don't see it right away, you can go ahead and draw the lines longer to see what kind of line is creating. If that makes sense to you, you can go ahead and do that.